Hey, what's up, everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another edition in my series where I go through 5 random CDs from my collection. This will probably be the last edition in this series for this year. We'll see if I pick it up again for 2025, probably, because it's always fun to just talk about some random albums from my collection. But yeah, this will be the last one for this year because next month is going to be all about year-end stuff. But without further ado, you know the deal by now. I've been doing this once a month, every month of this year, just picking 5 random CDs that I've had in the car this week, and I'm gonna grab them and talk about them right now. Try to switch up the genre so it's not 100% black metal, but yeah, kicking it off with some black metal, and today going to start it off with Godkiller and the EP, The Rebirth of the Middle Ages. So if you're unfamiliar with this project, this is a one-man band from Monaco, of all places. Check out that album art too, just killer stuff. And it just perfectly captures the vibe that this album is going for. Very medieval sounding. This is like atmospheric black metal, very heavy on the medieval atmosphere by bringing in like different instrumentation and keys and synthesizers to really give it this medieval feel. There'd be some comparisons to a band like Summoning, but it's not quite as like epic in scope as that. There's still a lot of this is based around the riffs, and I just absolutely love this. They put their whole career maybe isn't as consistent. There was a couple demos before this that are pretty good. Then this was the first EP. The full length after this is more on the like industrial black metal side, which actually I really dig as well. The album right after this is really solid. But then after that, the follow-up, I'm not a huge fan of. Kind of drifted away from black metal altogether, mostly just clean singing. But this right here is the crown jewel. If you're going to check out just one Godkiller album, check out this EP front to back. I mean, this is only like 25 minutes long, but you've got songs like From the Castle in the Fog, Blood on My Sword Blade, The Never-Ending Reign of the Black Knights. Just killer stuff. Can't recommend this one enough. Easily one of my favorite black metal EPs of all time. So if you haven't heard it, go give it a listen. All right, switching it up for the next one, going with some Canadian content with some good old classic traditional heavy metal, speed metal, whatever you want to call it. Skullfist with their latest Paid in Full. So yeah, if you're unfamiliar with this band, like I said, they are from Canada. Features some like really high-pitched wails for the vocals and just speedy technical riffing. Got great solos on display here. Yeah, killer tracks here. You can see the back here as well. You got like the title track, Paid in Full, Long Live the Fist, Crush, Kill, Destroy is pretty killer. Heavier Than Metal, For the Last Time. Like all in all, this is just a catchy, fun album. You can check it out there, show you the band as well inside the digipack here. Got a whole bunch of pictures there. But yeah, just one of the best in Canadian, like traditional heavy metal for sure. Kind of been up and comers for the last decade or so, but yeah, really killer stuff. If you're into speed metal, classic heavy metal, and haven't checked these guys out, check out their whole discography. This is their newest one. It's not my favorite album by them. They've got a couple that are better, but this one is still pretty solid. This was from what, 2022? Yeah, just a couple years ago, but pretty killer stuff. Go check out Skullfist if you are unfamiliar. All right, now on the other end of the spectrum, let's go with some crushing death metal, more on the technical side of things, with Necrophagist and the sophomore album here, Epitaph. So if you're unfamiliar with this band, it started out as a one-man project. I can't remember the guy's name behind the band, but yeah, very low, monotonous vocals, I guess you could say, but the guitar playing is super technical. So on the debut, it was basically just him doing everything with programmed drums. But then along comes this album, and he recruited a whole lineup. He brought in Christian Muenzer to play guitars with him, of course, of Obscura fame, as well as many other bands like Eternity's End. And then you got Hans Grossman on drums of those same bands, pretty much like huge names in German technical metal. And this album is just really killer. The riffs are so technical. I'm not a huge tech death fan, but when this album came out, I was hugely into it. I don't necessarily listen to it a ton anymore, but every now and then I bust it out. And the drumming and guitar playing is still just top notch. You got songs like The Stillborn One, Diminished to Be, Only Ash Remains. Just go listen to the crazy technical drumming and the amazing solos and technical riffs here. If you're into tech death or just death metal in general and have never checked out Necrophagist, strongly suggest you go do it. This album, I think, is better than the debut. The debu's still pretty good as well. But yeah, that was all they ever did, the 2 albums. Then they're no longer, but go check out both of them. Hopefully you enjoy them. All right, switching up the genres once again, we're going to go with some old school thrash with a band that I consider to be somewhat underrated, and that is Sabbat from the UK. And here I've got their sophomore album, Dreamweaver. So yeah, if you're unfamiliar with Sabbat, like I said, this is their sophomore album. I think they put out 3 albums altogether, if I'm not mistaken, but this one was the last one with this vocalist who then left to form Skyclad. But here, his vocals are pretty unhinged. He's fitting in a lot of lyrics into short spans, but the riffs on this album are just crushing. It's so thrashy. You've got Andy Sneap on lead guitar, who's probably more well-known for being a producer of a ton of albums than for guitar, but, I mean, he's a great guitarist. The solos here rip, and like this is just going to have your head banging. It's catchy. The riffs are going to stick in your head. Check out that album art too. Really dig that. Yeah, just a lesser known thrash band. If you're unfamiliar with them and you're into thrash at all, go check out their first 2 albums. It's always close. Do I like the debut or this one better? But yeah, there's some great tracks here, like the Clerical Conspiracy, the Dark Horses Dream of Nightmares, the Best of Enemies. Like, these are probably their biggest hits off this album, but to call them hits is a little bit of a stretch. But yeah, if you know the band, I'm sure you dig this. If you are unfamiliar and looking for some old school thrash, go check out Sabbat. All right, last but not least, gonna go with one of my favorite Australian bands. Going back with some black metal, this time on the depressive black metal side of things, with Woods of Desolation and the album Torn Beyond Reason. So this is top-notch depressive black metal. On this album, the vocals were done by the guy from Austere, and so it kind of has a very similar feel to the Austere album that came out around this time, To Lay Like Old Ashes. Just very like cycling riffs that are going to bring you down with these tortured screams, but I do feel like this album also has some uplifting moments as well. Like, if you take away the tortured, depressive screams, some of these riffs kind of have an uplifting tone with the melodicism that's going on, but it just envelops you in its wave of sound and sadness, and it just sucks you in and transports you to another world. It's really killer stuff. This is easily my favorite Woods of Desolation album, and one of the best the genre has to offer, I would say. Pretty much every song on here is a winner. Torn Beyond Reason, An Unbroken Moment, Somehow, the closer is great. Just all in all, top-notch stuff for the genre. If you're into depressive black metal, give this one a listen if you haven't. And if you're just into black metal in general, go give it a listen. It'll just suck you in with its atmosphere. So anyways, those are my 5 picks for today. Like I said, probably the last edition in this series for this year, because I'm not going to do one in December, but maybe I'll be back with it in January. So yeah, until then, Hammerheart Metal Reviews out.